episode 91, Thursday, 10th June. Yeah, I know, it's been a whole week, an entire week since I've caught up with you guys. We had the long weekend this last weekend, did we not? Yes, we did. And it was so full on. And it was so nice to see. Oh, good, I can see you're coming back in. Let me know if I've got sound this time. Oh, good. Thanks, Pauline. It has been so nice. And in the theme for the speakeasy this week, it is my happy place. So in my happy place, it's so been lovely to see everybody where everyone feels completely comfortable and in the zone for when they're doing their knitting and all the things that they love. So I'm thoroughly enjoying that. For me, I got very little knitting done, not as much as I would like. It was child number one was his birthday last week. So over the long weekend, he had his first sort of birthday party that he organised himself with a group of friends, which involved sleepovers. And my boys are teenagers, both very close in age, and they're at that really wonderful age where they haven't really kind of discovered girls yet, and all the naughty things that get them into trouble, like booze and alcohol and girls and all those sorts of things. And they are really just, for them, it's the highlight for them is hanging out, going into town, buying a frappe or something in town and coming back and playing video games. So it was great. They're happy. They have a great time, Mother Bear got Domino's pizza and it was all good. So not a lot of knitting was done because I spent a lot of time wrangling teenage boys, but it was all fun and games. And I completely forgot to bring my knitting in this morning to show you. I did get some done. I'm doing a baby blanket, and I have finished the Aran sweater, which I've talked about the last couple of videos, and utterly delighted with that progress. It had its first showing out and about the other day, and I got a picture of that from Nicholas, and he just loves it, so I'm really delighted. And so I've actually just jumped to do a baby blanket, which is on my queue of things that I have to do across this winter for a baby, and it's been a nice switch. It's been a really nice switch because it is very, I ended up not getting a pattern that was out there. I just sort of made it up on the fly using a stitch pattern that I've used for a number of my own designs. It's a stitch pattern that I can do in my sleep. So that's for me very comforting. And I even decided to dig out some stash yarn from deep stash. So I had 950-gram balls of a DK that had been in there it was our very first recycled yarn actually that we did for Skeinz. So it would be 7 or 8 years old, probably 8 years old. So many of you may remember Harvest from back in the day. So I'm using Harvest New Leaf, which is this really lovely leafy green. So that is what I'm working on. So I've sort of done about that much so far. So it's actually chucking along quite nicely, which is great. One of the next projects that I need to get my teeth stuck into, though, is the sweater or cardigan. I haven't decided which yet, that I'm going to knit for Knit August Nights. I think I've gone and I think I've found the one that I want to do, but I'm not 100% certain. It is actually sort of a pop-over one. It's quite straightforward. I am going to be doing it in this, which is the Cozy Cyan mixed back with Whisper Fine in Aria. So it's this very bright cerise blue. And if I go with the pattern that I'm thinking I'm going to go with, it will be something that will pop over all the dresses and stuff that I wear, because that's what I tend to wear when I'm roaming around and stuff. So I think that's what I'm going to. I'd quite like to do. I actually bought this pattern for another yarn, actually for the Bluebell sequined mohair yarn that we had with on sale last year, and it would actually be quite nice to test it out in this, and then if I really, really like it, I can actually flick it over into the yarn. So that's sort of the plan at this stage. But you know what I'm like. I'm likely to change it and turn around and end up doing other things. I know, I'm hopeless. So that is sort of the rough rule of thumb at the moment. I love to see one of the things that we have seen a lot of over the weekend. Oh, sorry, Pat, looking for a reasonably priced tweed DK. Is anything on its way? Well, Pat. Okay, so Loyal, which was our tweed effect, Aaron, that was sold out, and we have been trying to find a replacement. So we did. We had a little bit of. We tried doing it. We tried doing it with, it's the nep that we find, and we tried doing it again, and it didn't quite come out how we wanted it. We have actually got, yes, we do have, we've spun the batch up of that, and we've got some shades of that coming on its way. So it's sort of kind of like a fleck effect more than a tweed effect, Pat, if that makes sense. When exactly that's coming, I'm not too sure. It's on the list. Everything's been selected, and I'm kind of hoping it will be here before the end of the winter, but the mill's pretty slammed. However, you bring up tweed. I do have tweed coming, like proper for reals tweed, coming out from Donegal. I know, right? And the best thing about that is it's coming out, and it is using New Zealand and Australian merino. So it's a merino tweed. It will be softer in the hand than a traditional tweed, which is using Irish wool, which is a much coarser, beautiful colours, but a much coarser yarn and fibre. So it's sort of even a little bit more rustic than Southlander, but it is still like amazeballs. We decided to go with the merino one because the hand is beautiful. You're still getting the incredible, authentic Donegal effect. And we've hand selected the colours. It is literally on the racks in Kilcare, which is where it's been made at the moment, and we're really excited about that. Super, super excited. So that, if all goes well, we will have samples that we'll be able to show you in time for Knit August Nights. Yay! And we can take pre-orders, and we're hoping that it will fall over into sort of September delivery, which is really, really exciting. Now, with that, it won't be a DK because they don't make it to a DK. Being classic Donegal, they make it to the equivalent of a 10 ply. But the meterage on it is pretty good, Pat. You should be able to easily shift it. But if you want the real deal, we've got that coming. So excited about that. Oh, Charles is here. Hey, Charles. What am I wearing? It looks so nice. Thank you, Charles. This is my Miss Jane cardigan, which I have knitted several of these. This was one of the ones that I did over the summer. And this is using, and actually you'll know this yarn, Charles, I had a collection of Quince & Co. Chickadee, which I'd had again in deeps. In fact, you've seen this yarn, Charles. When you came to my house, it was, I think you even commented on it. I had a big tall white vase with all this yarn that was kind of cascading out the top of it like in a floral arrangement, but it was a yarn arrangement. This is the yarn from that arrangement. I decided to finally knit it. So this is what it is, and I have got heaps of these. It actually needs a little bit of a depill, to be fair. It hasn't had one yet, and it's just starting to get a little bit fuzzy on it. And I love it. I love it, and I love so I've striped it, and I've deliberately chosen this because I didn't have enough to do a complete pattern, but I deliberately chose this design because the way that Georgie Nicholson has designed this is that of the directionality of work. So then I get these stripes going in different directions, which is what I wanted. So just, yeah, you do remember, yeah, the colour. And they're wonderful colours. And I've actually, was funny, I did a big clean up around the knitting chair and looking for something else. My son lost something, so I was going through everything, and I found the bag that's got all the leftovers from this, and there's actually probably about 200 to 300 grams of all the colour, about 200 grams of all the colours left, and they're also fabulous. And I pulled them out actually day before yesterday, and I was looking at them thinking, I actually really do need to knit something with those leftovers to sort of go with this. So I'm just a bit undecided about whether or not I'll do a cowl with them. Like, there's enough for possibly even a cowl and a hat. I've got a couple of patterns that utilize the different colors, or whether I just keep it stripy or have a bit of a play around. But the colors are just a headband. Yeah, that's a great idea, Charles. Yeah, headband would be brilliant. It's just they're just too pretty not to do anything with and have something fun to do with them. So yeah, so that's what that is. Oh, here we go, Michelle. Just casting on a swatch. Are you feeling well, Michelle? A swatch. You're swatching. How many stitches should I cast on? It's for a knit in a flat DK Bohemia 20. Oh, 22 stitches, 30 rows. Right. That, my darling, I can tell you. I do, I cast on around, funnily enough, I find 36 is my happy number. Don't know why, but for me, I always cast on 36 stitches. And then I do 4 stitches either side as a garter stitch selvage. 3 stitches either side for a garter stitch selvage, which leaves me with 30 stitches in stocking stitch. And the reason why I do that, if we're aiming for a 22 stitch tension, is because that it leaves you theoretically 4 stitches either side to so it's nice and flat, because sometimes when you do a smaller swatch you can get curl and all of these different things that can actually, particularly if you need to get your gauge bang on, that can affect that. And I just find that when you've done your swatch and you lay it flat, it's a lot easier to measure where you're at. So then you know that so I do it, I'll have the swatch, so for argument's sake, and then I generally steam mine instead of wet blocking them, because I'm lazy and I want to do it right there and then, but that gives me enough of an idea. So I knit my swatch, I will steam it, lay it flat, then I know that I've got 6 stitches either side, then I'll go in 4 stitches either side, place 2 pins, 4 stitches in on one side, 4 stitches in on the other side. Then I know that what's in the middle is 22, but I actually measure that. And if all life is good, if things are smiling, I know that it will say 10 centimetres. If it's not, then I know that that's where I need to do some wriggle room. So that's how I do it on a DK swatch. And it's funny, like regular standard yarns, I don't swatch so much now, only because I know that the tension I'm going to get. But I do actually swatch it if it's a yarn that I've not used before, or it's got a slightly different texture, or the composition is a bit different. Like if there's a high alpaca count or a mohair count or something that's a little bit slinky malinky in there, that will always affect your gauge often. I will just check it out and make sure that it's doing what it should do. So yeah, that's one of the things that I will. Oh, linen, if there's a lot of linen or cotton in there, yeah. So that's how I attack my DK swatches. And then any other swatch that you have, I use the same rule of thumb. So ostensibly I add so 4, 8 and 6 is 14 stitches onto whatever the tension is supposed to be. I know this is Marie logic, which is probably not normal people logic, but that's me. That's how I do it. Right. What I was rambling on about in the first attempt at the videos, the reason I was late is I had to make a coffee. I'm very sleep deprived at the moment, and it's going to be at least a 3 coffee day. I know it is. Right. The other thing I noticed over the long weekend, and I apologise, I thought I'd sent it out on Friday, but I didn't. I realised that I hadn't, so I think I sent it out on Tuesday. We had a massive number of restocks over the weekend. So there was Renoir from Water Lilies is back in. There was some Merino Softs back in, some Southlanders back in. What else was there? There were a few bits and pieces that all came in. Oh, there was some Naked Skeinz that came back in, Twist on Twist, I think it was. So, and we've actually got some more coming through. I've also got some new yarn, which hopefully, fingers crossed, I will be able to get up before the end of the month, and some new patterns, printed pattern leaflets, I know, which we'll be able to get up before the end of the month as well. It's just been so bonkers. We're still recovering from Wool Feast. It's just been so busy. I've also seen loads of this go out. There is still a little bit of this left. I think we've probably gone about through half, 2/3 of it maybe. So there is a little bit left to grab. This is the Crestone from Mountaintop Classic Elite Yarns. These are all in naturals. They're utterly divine. I just think they are beautiful. It's a 91 meters per skein, which means that you could actually, and because of the loft and the bounce in this, you could actually have and it's got a lovely high twist. The twist on this, there we go. Is the camera going to pick that up? Put it in front of my face. There you go. As you can see, this lovely high angle of twist. And the high angle of twist is very similar to the high angle of twist that's in this cardigan here. What that high angle of twist gives you is fantastic stitch definition. It makes it great for Aran projects, but it also gives you really lovely, crisp colour work. And it's great. So, I mean, if you wanted to do a 3-colour version of what I'm wearing, this would be fabulous. You could. So I also just jumped in and grabbed a couple of books that I had sitting in my collection behind me here. And I talked about a number of these books actually back in the day. When did I talk about these? Quarantine Diaries. I probably haven't pulled these out since Quarantine Diaries. But I thought I would pull them out now because there's a number of designs in there. And this, where is the one that I have done oodles? And in fact, I'll possibly even knit this again because I love this hat so much. I did it because I pulled this out again because the Donegal tweed I think is going to look great in a lot of these patterns. But I also pulled it out because this Crestone would also look great in it. And I'm just finding, I was running so behind. Yes, I know I didn't pre-check these. Is this the one that I was wanting to do? No, it wasn't. Anyway, oh, there it is. There's several. Anyway, I'm going to show this. This is the book here, Botanical Knits. There's 2 of them. Botanical Knits, 2 Botanical Knits. Alana Dacos. Oh, that'll be wise because it'll be in this first book here. I have done, you may have seen that stitch pattern there. She's got a collection of these hat and mitts of this. It is called the Ivy Trellis hat. I absolutely adore it. There's the mitten version there. I did this in both silver lining and also in Chatswood. Chatswood Sheffield. That's what's come back in. I knew there was something else that I had to tell you that came back in. The other one that I've also knitted, there it is. I've now found it. And this is actually another classic elite yarn, which has got a little bit of silk in it, but I also think that this would look great as well. I knitted this back in the day. It's called Wrapped in Leaves. It's this really fabulous shawl with this gorgeous, it's a simple shawl, really satisfying to knit. There it is there. See it there? There we go. That's it. With this lovely little leaf motif at the bottom. And I ended up gifting it to somebody. I had gifted it back to a friend in the US. And it is, honestly, it was a seriously satisfying thing to knit. So you essentially knit the, I think you knitted the whole body of the shawl first, and then you sort of went and did the border. Yes, then you did the leaf border at the end. And it was great. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. And it's the sort of pattern that would look incredible in this. And it's also the sort of thing that you could actually knit it and do the leaf border a different colour. It really is a lovely, lovely design. So as I said, it is called the Wrapped in Leaves.
Can I come in here for patterns?
No, if you don't, we've got them up on the counter up there. Thank you. See, didn't lock the door. Yeah, it's called Wrapped in Leaves. So if anyone wants to look that up on Ravelry and go in and pull that up for me, it'll be in Ravelry. Alana Dacos. The other one she had, and here it is right at the beginning, I think, if this is the one. Yes, was this little guy here. And it was a sweet, sweet, sweet sweater. And it's called Sprig. I actually also think this would look fantastic in Southlander. But the whole design and collection all have a very natural feeling around them. I mean, Lisa, you've knitted that shawl too. It's a great shawl. It's really simple. So if you're looking for patterns to actually do your Crestone in and get the most out of your Crestone, jump back and have a look at these collections from Alana. So Alana Dakos, Dakos. She's also got a blog called Never Not Knitting. Before she released these two books, she released another book called Coastal Knits, and I think there were two in that collection as well, Coastal Knits and Coastal Knits 2. She's just got a very classic design element that really, really suits these yarns, and also, thank you, Claire, and really suits sort of, they're wearable, they're really wearable patterns. And I've knitted several of her hats. In fact, I've knitted 3 or 4 of her hats. I've knitted the ivy trellis hat. I've knitted I think one was called the twig hat, and then the last one was called pressed leaves, I think. And they are all fabulous, and I love them, and I thrash them all the time. So if you're sort of a bit stuck, you're wanting a bit of direction of where to go, jump in and have a look at her collections, because I think there is a lot in there that will really translate into these yarns incredibly well. Now, speaking of translating into these yarns incredibly well, I also got in my inbox, and this is what actually got me thinking about that shawl. We've sort of fallen down doing a lot of sweaters lately, but there is actually, I think, there are so many wonderful shawls and wraps, which is so useful, and a number of us have them, but I'm talking about shawls and wraps in heavier weights of yarns, and not necessarily the fine lace weight shawls or the single skeins type shawls that we do in fingering or 4-ply, but these heavier, more unctuous, rich shawls that we can, and scarves that we can wear. So Hello Tourist by Wonderlanding would be a classic example. You know that I love that. Boneyard shawl from Stephen West would be great if you're wanting to play around with some colour and have some fun. Charles is here, his new summer serape, which is a wrap. Perfect for that style of thing. So they're garments and items that are very, very wearable, very easy, transitional, throw on, throw off. And one that I received in my inbox this last week or so, and I'd sort of been holding off on showing it to you, was, actually I'll do it here, showing it to you was because one of the yarns that they used and recommended for the shawl came back into stock over the weekend. So I was like, yay! So that being the Chatswood from the Chatswood Sheffield. So this is called the Encore Shawl. It is from Bronwyn Carroll from Good to Go Knits. We love, many of you remember Bronwyn's gazillion hat. That was fabulous. Let's just make this so it's nice and easy for you to share. There we go. So she has put this out. This is a recent release from her, and it's called the Encore Shawl, and it is a fantastic shawl, which I've just downloaded the pattern. Thank you, Bronwyn, for sending that to me. And I'm definitely going to look at this. It's a lovely mix of garter stitch and some eyelets, and it's worked from the top down. So the beautiful thing about this is you cast on a whole heap at the beginning, but then you're working on decreases from the beginning to the very end. And psychologically, that is a really wonderful way of doing it. Whereas a lot of shawls are the fiddly little garter tab at the beginning, and then you sort of fiddle around with this little garter tab, and then you slowly work outward. And then by the time, and to begin with, it's all very exciting because it grows so fast and you love it. But then by the time you get so far into it, you start losing the will to live because it just takes forever to do a row and what have you. Whereas Bronwyn's going to turn this on its head and started it the other way, whereas you start at the beginning and then you decrease down. So it's a little bit like a mitered square. It has this, it's ever decreasing circles, which is really exciting. And I just loved the look of this. And what I loved about it, and this is what I love about a lot of Bronwyn's designs is that they're really simple to knit, they're great to knit, they're enjoyable, but she has loads of instruction in there on how to actually modify this design to suit what you have in your stash or to suit what you're actually picking up and purchasing. I mean, that alone, wouldn't that look fantastic in this Crestone? So, and this design is no exception. As you can see, you can play around and do it in different colors, different weights. Here's the finer weights here. So there are so many different options that you can have. She's also written it, I think, in 2 different size options, from a shawlette to a huge big shawl. So there's different stitch counts in here. And this style of shawl I adore, because you just play around with your needle size and your yarn to find out what suits. And it is just wonderful. So she's gone and done here 4 different versions for you. A DK version, which you could use the Crestone in that, or any of our other DKs, or even a 10-ply, to be honest with you, and just up your needles a bit, and up your needles and add about 15% extra in yarn. Versions 2 and 3 are fingering or 4-ply weights over 2 different sizes, and then the 4th version is double-stranded, a fingering weight with a lace weight mohair. And we, of course, all know that we have that available at the moment, so then you are able to do something really fun like this into that. So I just wanted to share that with you. So it's called the Encore Shawl. Okay, let me just put that up because I've got that sitting up, so I can put that straight into the comments for you. There we go. Hey, is this Sarah's asking, is this the same shawl that you have in yellow and white? Maybe it was the model in the background. No, it's not. That's Hello Tourist, and that's quite different again. It was the shape is slightly different. It does have the stripes like Bronwyn's does, but it is actually quite a different. There's a different methodology to working the shawl, and that particular shawl had a different asymmetrical shape structure. Also had tassels. Similar but different, if you know what I mean. I love both of them. What I like about the Encore is that Bronwyn has gone and provided you with a whole bunch of variety in there in order to actually use a massive number of different yarns that you have already in your stash. So thank you, Bronwyn, for sending that to me, because I took one look at that. I've been sort of playing around with the possibility of doing a boneyard shawl, because I just love big, thick, rich shawls. I tell you who else does wonderful, thick, yummy shawls. Georgie Nickerson from Tiki Knits does the oolong, which is a great one. Our wonderful Libby has got Miss Dottie, which is done in our silver lining. And in fact, if you guys have got Miss Dottie, which she released probably 4 or 5 years ago, this would be amazing in Miss Dottie. Or oolong from Georgie. What was the other one? I'm trying to remember the name of it. Kathy Rubin from Barbarian Horde. She, I know, does some. Look, my hair's falling out. She does some beautiful, rich, unctuous, big shawls. Another one too that we have here in the shop, which you've actually had to take out because we don't have the yarn for it quite so much, but you could actually do, is this was a sample that we did when we had the Arthi, and this works fantastically well if you're wanting a really big snuggly shawl, but with some colour. This one is called Zelda. This one now lives on the back of my chair in the office. This is my, when I get in and it is super, super cold, I throw this one on. I love it. This is a great one for if you've got lots of colours, but I think this would be fabulous in vintage abroad if you're wanting to do something in vintage abroad or pulse and flight and you want to play around with colour. This is Zelda by Amber O'Brien. I think we need to fall back in love with some of these lovely big squishy shawls again, because they are just, this time of year, they're such a satisfying thing to knit. Aranami is another one, as you know, that I adore, which is Olga Baraya Khalifian. That is the one that's like the little scallops and waves. I've knitted about 3-4 of those, all in different weights. from really thick ones to another. Yeah, it is just this. There's just such really lovely, yummy things. Oh, Gemini 8, Bex is knitting. Oh, yes, Bex, I saw you post that. She's knitting a nomad, and I saw you post that. Did you post it up in the speakeasy? It's just gorgeous. So there's lots of these lovely shawls, and I just love them because you can just throw them on round, and it's just, they add instant warmth, which this time of year you often need. Like when I came to work this morning, it was pea soup fog, you could barely see a foot in front of me, really, really cold, but now the sun is shining, it's lovely and warm, and it's about 17 degrees, so you don't necessarily need all the layers. And I think that's where these shawls are really, really wonderful. Yeah, and Michelle's saying she's going to knit a DK Aranami. I love the 4-ply is lovely, and I've actually knitted Aranami in 3-ply, 4-ply, and DK. In fact, I've done 2 in DK. And the nice thing about Aranami is you can play around with colour. You don't have to. So what Olga did with hers is she started with 2 layers of one colour and then basically blocked it in stripes. And I've done, looks amazing. What I've also done is when the one I wear most often is I had a single roving long print yarn, which I'd picked up on my travels. This is another one of Marie's yarn tourism projects, and I'd picked a couple of balls of this yarn up. I think it was 2 balls I had when I was in Sydney, and it was just a beautiful long sort of ombre print. It was really pretty, and it sort of started sort of from a biscuity tea colour and went all the way through into actually this sort of citrusy limey colour here, was sort of kind of, yeah, greeny colour here, and then finished off actually into a purple like that. And that was sort of the very long print. So from a cream to a tea to a sort of greeny shade to this purple and then back. And it was just really pretty. And in the little scallops and the little scales that you do in the Aranami, because you never knit more than 36 stitches at a time with Aranami, it looked fabulous. Like it just, the colours changed and pulled. And I ended up digging around in Stash, and I had a fabulous alpaca yarn that was almost a natural alpaca, that was almost a dead spit for the lighter shade. I also had vintage, the original vintage that we did, and the sample that we did for vintage. This is way back when, so I'm talking 12 years ago, and actually the sample we had was in this colour. Never actually made the final colour palette. I got outvoted on that one, but I did. So I ended up having that yarn in Stash, so I pulled that out. Didn't have a lot of it, and then I had, yeah. And so what I did is I used those 3 colours to then build up this colour palette, and it is loads of fun. It is loads of fun. And I did one also, a natural stacking one, using the silver lining, all the different shades of silver lining. And I did it actually twice. I did it with the DK silver lining, and then I did it with the silver lining Lumiere, which that second one went off to become a gift. So when you do it in the finer weights, it becomes a smaller sort of shawlette scarf, and the larger weights, like that big original one, honestly, I can wrap that sucker around tied up. It's huge. But the beautiful thing is you just keep going. You keep going until you get the width, the depth and the length that you want. Because it's modular, it doesn't matter. You just keep going until you decide, actually, yeah, that's wide enough now. Then take the instruction, finish it off across the top. And me, being me, on that original one, I had some of that long print left over, and I thought, I'm going to actually do a I-cord bind off right across the top in that long ombre, just to finish it off and tie it all together. And it looked really, really good. What else did I have to tell you about? I did have something else that I had to tell you about. Oh, yes. How could I forget? So this month, as I said, we've got some new prints, some really fun prints that hopefully will be here. Fingers crossed I'll be able to start getting them listed up towards the end of next week or the beginning of the week following. The other thing too is there is a certain release of a certain yarn that only comes out around this time of year from a certain yarn company that we're really excited about. So if you're feeling a little bit moody and broody and mysterious, perhaps, Lisa, perhaps that is coming at the end of the month as well. So we're really excited about that. I know what the colours are and I am so excited. I'm so excited. So you need to keep peeled for that. Make sure that you get all your patterns on the queue together that you want to do for that, because last year it sold out so fast, so incredibly fast, and I can't see this year being any different. And once the batch is gone, that's it until next year. And of course, you can't guarantee. I mean, Deb, I don't know what the colours are until once the order's placed, and actually, to be fair, even then, because I'm not based at the mill anymore, I didn't get to see it until much later. So so excited. I'm so excited about this coming in. It's really, really cool. So they are not far away at all. And then but wait, there's more coming up in July. Of course, is Capital Fibre Fest in Upper Hutt. Really excited about that. I'm actually going to pop that in the newsletter. They've got some wonderful demonstrations and classes. I've got some information about that to send out. So if you are anywhere in the half of the lower North Island, or even if you pop across the ditch, across the strait, and you want to pop over to Wellington into Upper Hutt, definitely is going to be well worth it. It is. I'm so excited. This is our first one. We've not managed to make it before, but I have Ethan flying into Napier on the Thursday beforehand, and then him and I are going to road trip it, like Deb and I did, down to Upper Hutt, and it's going to be an absolute blast. I can't wait. So make sure you get that on the calendar. So don't panic if you couldn't make it to Woolfest. You've got this. And if you're in Christchurch 2 weekends beforehand, how could I forget this month? Midwinter Woolfest is on in Christchurch, which is the last weekend of June. So there is still plenty of really good yarn events to be had, lots of places that you can get inspired and have a good play with. So that's me. I'm going to keep going. I've yabbered on a lot and had to have 2 cracks at it. Ethan, choose the Gothic colours this time. No, it's always a collaborative thing, and I know, knowing those guys as I do, there's usually lots of discussion around what colours come, what colours stay, what colours go. I was involved last year. But I have to admit, I've seen the selection that they've got through this year, and the collection is going to look fantastic. Jill, is the Aranami by Olga Jazzy? Yes, it is. That's her Revelry name, Olga Jazzy. All right, guys, I will talk to you again on Monday. Until then, make sure you get. Oh, I knew there was something else. Jenny, I want to. And I've surname's just gone, but I have drawn the prize for Rebel, and that is and Jenny, your surname has just gone and flown out the window, but I have been in touch with her, so I will post that up in the speakeasy as well for the Rebel prize. We're just getting a garment pack out to you, and I just noticed before she'd messaged me back with those colours, so that is really exciting. And the new theme obviously is Happy Place. So I want to see more happy places. All right, enjoy. Take care. Oh, there we go. Deb told us on Tuesday he did. Oh, well, there you go. See, I'm a bit naughty. I missed the hangover, so I didn't get to see that. All right, guys. I'll talk to you Monday. Take care.